Hi, and welcome to Creative Spirit Gathering. This week, we're going to be working on intuitive collage in our art journals. If you don't already have your supplies, what I'm using today is a glue stick, a pair of scissors, and a few old magazines. Now, if you don't want to use collage materials for this, of course, you can explore today's theme in any material that you find is calling on your heart. Make it your own and see what unfolds for you on the page. I'm going to go ahead and set this down for a minute because I want to start by sharing a little story with you that is found in the book Birthing a Greater Reality by Robert Brummett. Robert happens to be on our board here, but that's not why I'm sharing his book. I'm sharing because I really love this story and what it can mean to ourselves when we look at this. So in chapter 4, under Embracing Our Wholeness, isn't that what we're always doing together? Embracing our wholeness. He shares a story that in the 1960s, the United States received from another country a gift, a rare and beautiful white tiger named Mohini. And Mohini lived in a zoo in Washington, D.C. for many years in a 12 by 12 foot cage. During most of her life in that environment, she would pace a figure 8 in this 12 by 12 space. Well, over time, they decided they were going to raise the funds and create for Mohini a beautiful, lush landscape that she could run around and be more free, not so enclosed in this tiny little space. So it was going to include several acres of trees, grassy hills, even a pond. She'd be able to run, climb, and explore. When they were finished with this landscape and they released Mohini into the space, things didn't go quite as expected. The expected plan was she would run around and frolic and enjoy these acres of land that she had been given. Instead, what she did was walk in a figure 8 in the size of a 12 by 12 space. So many of us have been living our lives in a set pattern. Like Mohini, we have been limited by our environment, by our community, our upbringing, by our own belief system. And even when we open up and reveal to ourselves the possibilities of the many ways that we could share our unique selves into the world, even when we open up to the possibility of breaking down some of those walls that have been holding those limited thoughts in place, we still continue to walk in a figure 8 in our old cage. So today I'm going to show you how you can use art journaling as a way to not only focus on your gifts, not only focus on breaking down some of those old barriers, but on truly leaning in to inner wisdom that you can create new patterns, create new habits and new ways of being. Because these old ways of being are so ingrained, it can be hard to really create that mental shift to then step out and live our lives on purpose, live the truth that we know, live the awareness of love and kindness and compassion and divine potential within us. So later in that chapter, Robert writes that we need to learn to trust the process, trusting the process. That yes, it is important for us to reach out for external support when we are feeling confined or trapped or caught in habits that aren't serving our highest good. And perhaps that's through a spiritual community. Perhaps it's through counseling. Perhaps it's through picking up the phone and talking things out with a friend. But even more important than the external support is reaching within for the inner support. The most powerful internal support possible is our own essential nature. That's what Robert has to say about it. The most powerful internal support possible is our own essential nature. A huge part of our healing comes in the form of learning to trust this essential nature once again. He writes, in learning to trust, we relax into the flow of life. We see that in spite of our struggling and stumbling, there's an infinite intelligence that guides the unfolding of our lives. There is an infinite intelligence that guides the unfolding of our lives. And that's what I propose we tap into today by tapping into our intuition again, tapping into that space, that subconsciousness that knows our highest path. So perhaps when we did the activity a few weeks ago on acknowledging your personal gifts, there were some blocks that came up, some triggers maybe that showed up. And then when we did the work to acknowledge what are those blocks and barriers and how can we remove them, we did a little bit more of that work that we could lean into our intuition and asking ourselves, right, not my personality, what do I think is best? What does my logic think is best? But asking my heart what is best so that I can share my gifts forward, so that as I know this information, I can actually act on it in the world and really move through those blocks so that I can create new patterns, so that you can stop walking that figure 8 when you are ready to run and jump and climb and explore all that life has to offer you. So in creating an intuitive collage, we are simply letting ourselves kind of step aside from the logic for a moment and letting that intuitive process unfold. So what that looks like on our journal page, as we're working with magazine, is to first set an intention. So for me today, I'm going to set the intention, how do I share my gifts? Right? I'm asking what gift is ready to be brought forward in a new way. I'm asking for guidance from my inner wisdom. And you might have another intention that you wish to set as you move through this process. So simply set your intention and then move into the process. So again, our finished piece will look like a series of images come together on the page. It looks like, and it feels like such a simple process, and yet that simplicity can help us to lean into our intuition and let those inner answers be revealed to us. So what I usually do when I do an intuitive collage piece is I start by picking out 3 magazines. Again, if you have a pile of images that you want to use and on hand already, you want to work with those, that's fine. But what I usually do is have a few magazines, and I will literally set my intention first, then just flip through. I'm not looking to read the articles. Keep yourself from falling down that path. But I simply flip through, and if something calls to me, right, this guy here playing his guitar just kind of caught my eye. So I'm going to tear the entire page out, and I'm going to start a pile of these images. Once I've gone through a few magazines, just pulling whatever just kind of catches my eye, something that says, hey, pick me, pick me. I'm not worried about, does it make sense? Does it sound like or look like it's answering the intention question that I said at the beginning of the session? I'm just trusting my intuition, just trusting whatever calls to me and putting it aside. Sometimes it might be a word that calls to me. So I can tear the word out, proof. Once I have my selection of images from several magazines, I'll go through and just trim up the images, just using my scissors to trim it up so I don't have all those extra little bits. Set those guys in my recycle bin, and then I just have some single words and images. And once I have several things all cut out, what I'll do is create piles on my desk or whatever workspace you're using. Maybe it's your bed or your kitchen table. And I tend to create piles based on size. So a set of big images, a set of those little tiny ones, some medium-sized pieces. And I usually put the text off to the side no matter how big it is. Because if you put your text down first, it's probably going to get hidden with the images. So I always set that off to the side and I put the text on last. So I'm going to take a moment and grab a few images here so that I can demonstrate this process for you. All right, so now I have several images cut out and I have them in my piles according to size and text. And I'm simply going to flip my image over and put glue on the back side here. And I just go around the edge. Sometimes if it's a larger piece, I might make an X through the middle. And then I throw my glue stick on the ground. And then place where I want it and gently pat down. Now there's no creative science here as far as where the images get placed. Again, I'm simply relying on intuition to guide me in that placement of image and text. So I would go in and fill my page, placing things down. Some might overlap, some might end up getting covered altogether, and that's okay, right? I'm aware of the process and what I put where. So it's really just about being present, trusting yourself, just to not think it through so much. Gosh, we think so many things, overthink so many things. So when leaning into our intuition for an intuitive collage, we don't want to overthink. We simply want to just act, just trusting the process, letting it become a moment to flow and express yourself on the page, and remembering what was your intention, what was that question that you asked of yourself, that intuitive self before you began. So I'm going to stop here for now. I'll continue my page later and share with you in our Zoom room when we meet together at 11:30 Central Time for our group share. If you're not available to join us in the Zoom room, that's fine. I still invite you to create your own journal page as a response, exploring that idea of intuitive collage, letting it help to guide you into what that next step is that you're ready to take. That step that can perhaps get you out of that figure 8 that's keeping you back in your limited thoughts and that old way of being as you move forward into expressing your true nature, that sense of purpose that is calling you forward. So, as always, we like to move into a time of meditation before creating our journal page. And this gives us that moment to simply rest, let all of these ideas come together within us to percolate and brew a little bit. And then when we're creating from that sense of inner peace and creating from that sense of intuition instead of feeling any sort of struggle around the process. And if you are still feeling the struggle, I invite you to extend your meditation before beginning your journal, or to simply begin the process knowing and trusting that as you move into the creative process, it can help to drop you into that state of flow. So let's now move into our meditation together. I invite you to close your outer eyes if that feels comfortable, to take a moment to adjust your body if you need to allow any external sounds to become part of the experience. We know that sound can help to move us deeper. Sound can help to bring a sense of mindfulness to our practice. So if we notice it, we simply notice, acknowledge with mindfulness, and then let it go without attachment. And we use the breath to begin to calm our body. Again, with mindfulness, noticing the inhale, noticing the exhale. Letting it take us deeper into the state of flow. Flowing with the breath. We allow ourselves now to move into a moment of silence. And we begin to bring our awareness back to this moment, to this time. An awareness to sound. Letting it bring us to this present moment. Welcoming all aspects of life. And as we open our eyes, we carry with us this sense of peace, this sense of trust in our true nature. And it is from this place that I invite you now to create your journal page. Thank you for being with me, and I look forward to hearing how your journal process goes. If you can't join our Zoom room, please feel free to leave a comment in the space below on whatever platform you're watching so that we can hold your highest vision with you. Have a blessed week. Bye. Creative Spirit Gathering is offered on a donation basis so that all people across the globe have access to these powerful art journaling tools that can provide opportunity for self-reflection, for healing, and for lifelong transformation. To donate online, simply go to our website, unityartsministry.org, and click on the donate button. We appreciate and value your gifts and the many ways that they support this ministry. Thank you.